Hi there, and welcome to this episode of the Total Waterpolo Podcast. I hope you're doing well. Today we have the incredible pleasure of being joined by a world-class player and now a world champion, fresh off the plane from Fukuoka, the captain of the Netherlands national team, Sabrina Van der Sloot. We can't wait to hear about her experiences, and that will be coming up very, very shortly. But before we start this episode, I'd just like to ask you guys, the listeners, a small favour. At Total Waterpolo, we're committed to providing high quality content for everyone, and to sustain our passion project, we've introduced a subscription model that allows those who appreciate our work to support us on a monthly basis. And I'd just like to reassure everyone that all of our content will remain free for everyone to enjoy. But the subscription really is just purely an option for those who wish to contribute and help us cover essential costs such as travel, salaries and administrative costs. So if you can, we'd appreciate any contributions. We've put a link in the show notes, several choices for you to choose from. But I promise you the contributions will make a real difference in allowing us to continue sharing our passion for water polo with the world. But without further ado, without wasting too much more time on that stuff, let's get ready for a really special episode with the one and only Sabrina Van der Sloot. Sabrina, welcome to the Total Waterpolo Podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you. I'm fine. I'm doing great.
I bet you are. And there's nowhere else we can start, really. I'm sure the smile on your face is something to do with the gold medal that you just got in Fukuoka. Has it sunk in yet that you're a world champion?
Well, I get this question a lot, and honestly, not yet.
No. I mean, it's crazy, really. It's such a big achievement. I mean, I saw on social media, I saw that the royal family in the Netherlands were putting wishing you well, and Danielle van der Donk, who I'm a big Arsenal fan, so I saw that she was doing all this stuff with the swimming cap. They're pretty big. It's pretty big, It shows how big the achievement is. Did you ever imagine that this is something you could achieve?
Well, honestly, I think we've grown a lot the last season with the national team. So I thought it was something that we could do this year. But during the tournament, we didn't pay a lot of thoughts about it. But yeah, when we started winning all our games and playing really confident, of course, it crossed my mind that we could be world champions this time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you started off really well with a win against Spain. I mean, what you said there, confidence. The girls just look really, really confident. And where do you think that's come from? What's different maybe about this team now than maybe the team a few years ago?
Well, as you might know, we changed our coach, and he's paying a lot of attention to our mental stability during games and the mental strength. And he really, I think his way of training us is really helping us during the games. He's always talking about the importance of every decision during the game. But he's not the type of coach who will be very mad at you about something you do, only if you do something without a thought behind it. And I think this way of training really helps us during those important games and moments with a lot of tension on it.
We actually have a question in part 2, but I'm going to read it now just because I think it suits, from Amelie Perkins, who's actually in Manisa at the moment. So good luck to all the under-17s playing there. But her question was, what do you think it took your team to go from 6th at the Olympics to the World Champions? You obviously mentioned Ava obviously coming in, and he was obviously working with the team beforehand. Mm-hmm. Do you think anything else? Do you think just everyone hit form at the right time, or is there anything else aside from the change of coach?
Well, I think now also outside of the water, we are just really a group of friends, I would say. And I think everyone feels really comfortable and respected inside and outside of the water. And I think this is a big change if you look back at the team that we had it at the Olympics. Well, of course, at the moment during the Olympics, I didn't realize this, but now that we changed some players, have a different coach, and if I compare the two teams, I really see a big difference in the way we are treating each other outside of the water.
Good. And where does this rank in terms of all of your achievements? World champions. It's pretty special. Where does it rank?
Well, I think it's number one. It's number one right now. I mean, we've won European championships. We've won the with Sabadell. We won the Final Four. But I think winning Worlds is more difficult, even more difficult than winning Olympics because of the amount of good teams that are there. So I think this is number one for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you just talked about the Olympics there. I know the pressure's always on to an extent, but the pressure's kind of a lot more on you now for the next European Championships, the World Championships in Doha, which isn't actually that far away, and of course the Olympic Games. Where do you and your team go from here? How do you make sure that this is not just a one-off, and that maybe you can replicate this in some of these big events coming up?
Well, I think that we are really committed to winning a medal at the Olympics, and it's a goal of the team, which we already spoken out to 1.5 years ago. And for me personally, this is not like the end station, like it's like a good step in order to fulfill the big goal that we have. And well, I mean, directly after we won this medal, we said to each other, yeah, well, this is really nice, but now we have to keep working and we have to work twice as hard because now we are the team to beat, and everyone is gonna put everything in the water to beat us. And I think it's really good for us because that's also the mentality we've tried to reach this season. That always give everything, and well, this is really pushing us to do that.
Yeah, for so long USA were the team to beat, but now it's you ladies with the target on your back, really. Okay, well, I'll just pass on my congratulations again to you and your team, and we'll move on now to talk more about you and your career. And really, I was looking over preparing for this, and I'd looked at all the teams that you've played for in your career, and all you've played in Hungary, you've played in Italy, now you're in Spain, part of a really dominant team with the Sabadell. Maybe just go back and maybe the beginning, just briefly explain your first club and how you kind of got into professional water polo.
Well, you mean my Dutch club?
Yes, please. Yeah, Donk. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Gouda, so the club here is called Donk. At the time when I started, we had a really good first women's team. Danielle de Bruin, Mieke Kabout, who won the Olympic gold in Beijing, were part of this team. And I was not yet playing in the first team, but I would go to their games and, well, see what they were achieving. And later on, I started training with them. And I think that really inspired me to also want to achieve this great things with water polo. And then I entered the national team, and they just won gold. Some girls, they stopped, so I had the opportunity to play in the team. But we had this Italian coach with the national team, and he was not a big fan of us going somewhere else to play, so we couldn't really leave the country. And I think he was a big part of me being able to perform under pressure. I wouldn't say it was the most pleasant time of my life training with him, but he was always putting a lot of pressure on us during practice. And I think it's really there what made my, I don't know if these are the correct words, but the resilience during the games.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he was really part of creating this for me, even though it was not like maybe in a healthy way, but in the end it helped me. And then in the season of 2013, 14, I went to Szentes, which is just this really small town 1 hour away from Budapest. There's nothing there, only a really nice big pool.
Yeah.
But polo really lives there. And the first season we managed to win the Hungarian competition, which is such a big happening in this little town. And I think it really sparked my my passion about playing abroad in a country where water polo is more appreciated than here in the Netherlands, and also where sports is way more important than in our country. So I just kept playing in other countries, and of course, my transfer to Horizonte was a really good step for me, and also in my mind, it was such a good team because they won so many Champions League. And I mean, the coach, Martina Micheli and Tania Di Mario, they are stars. I also got to play with some Italian players who are so good. And I think that was my first experience with playing under pressure. Like, you have to win, like you're the best team and you have to perform every game. There's only one goal they want to reach. They want to win champions. And that's, for me, it was really important to experience that every day because, what I said before, in the Netherlands, it's not like this. It's like free fun playing water polo. But there you get paid. People are coming to see you win and you have to win. And this was a really new experience for me. And of course, in these times, we had to come back to the Netherlands in order to prepare for Olympic year. And as you might know, we didn't make Olympics that 2 times, but I still found that I was really passionate about playing on the highest level possible. So I went to Sabadell, and that's, I think, where I learned how to win, because I'm playing with like Laura Esther and Maika Garcia. These girls have played so many finals and they've won so much. Like, they really gave me a good example of how to play for the medals, like how to be confident, how to believe in yourself, and how important it is. And also how important it is to, if you don't achieve your goals, to just don't think about it too much. Like, don't let it affect you too much, because in the end, it's a sport, everyone wants to win and you're competing on the highest level and you're not always going to win or achieve your goal. So I think, that was in short my whole journey.
Yeah. That's 20 years condensed into 5 minutes. Really, really well articulated, really. And it answers a lot of questions. But it's just hearing that, it's such a unique perspective, because I'm not sure there's many players, even male or female, who have had such like a rich education in terms of water polo, playing in Hungary. I know you're in Szentes, who maybe people don't realise now, but at that time were winning Hungarian Cups and championships. They're one of the most successful women's teams. I think you're at UVSC for a bit, and then obviously Equipe Horizonte, and now Sabadell. Actually, just talking about Szentes, we do have a question here. Again, I'm going to ask you now. From Istvan Bocskay, who says, where do you rate the goal in the last second of the Hungarian final with Szentes that tied the game up? Do you remember this goal?
Yeah, I remember this goal, yeah.
Do you want to explain it for our listeners who maybe aren't aware?
Yeah, I think we were playing the final against Dunja Faros, and we went into the third game. We had home advantage. And at that time, they didn't have like this big 50 meters pool. They only had like the 30 meters outside pool. So we were playing outside. And I think it's just like concrete and a pool, like the typical Hungarian outside pools. And it was so crowded, like all around the pool, people were sitting, standing, yelling, and we were one goal behind, and we had like one timeout. And the coach at the time was who is now the assistant coach of the Hungarian team,
Yeah.
Nazi. He took the timeout and he just said, "Okay, we're gonna go there. You're gonna take a 5-meter throw." And I remember this moment, like I just got the fault and shot a skip shoot, and it went in, and really the pool exploded. Like it was crazy. Yeah, and then we went to 5 meters shootout, and we won.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Uh-huh. And the question, where do you rate that goal? Is that maybe in terms of importance, a very important goal, really? But where does that stand in terms of your kind of moments in your career?
Yeah. Well, I think what I told you before, like that was my first experience in a foreign country where water polo is this big sport, and just experiencing like this one goal made so many people so happy, and so many people were like really living in that moment. It's really special. So yeah, for me, I think it's a special moment just winning that game, not scoring the goal. I'm not really like thinking about my own personal stuff that I did, but I really do keep those core memories of how we felt as a team and how the pool was.
Nice. But obviously there is a lot of pressure on foreigners, so it was maybe nice for you to get the goal. Given such an amazing career in so many countries, I guess which club was your favourite place to play? I know maybe it's unfair now because you're still with Sabadell, and you've had great times in Catania and in. But I'm still going to ask which club maybe was the best time, best period, or.
Well, I think it's really hard to answer that question, because I think in the clubs where I went at that time, they were suiting for how I was during my career. Like Horizonte was perfect for me at the time when I was there. Sabadell now is also really great for me because I'm with the players of my age, which is always really nice. And this is something that I had in every club where I went. Like I went to the teams who had the main players the same age as I was. And I think that's also what helped me really feel good in all the clubs. I would say for food, Catania, Horizonte was the best.
Of course, obviously.
Yeah. But I think for like the water polo, I think Sabadell is better because, well, yeah, like in Barcelona, you have all these big clubs. It's easy to play the games, and yeah, Sabadell has been on top of their league for so long, and I'm really privileged to be part of that now for 3 years already.
Yeah, that's right. Which league was the toughest then? Which one for you was the toughest?
I think that the Italian league was the toughest at that time, because I mean we had a good team, but there were also a lot of other good teams, and I think it's something about like Italian people. They're so fiery. They're always they just don't want to lose. It's
That's it.
so hard. They're always fighting, and it's also like if you lose, they get crazy and angry, and I think that's something really beautiful. But also for somebody who's not from there, it's sometimes weird to experience that.
Yeah, it does feel like in Italy, like every weekend is a fight.
Yeah.
Every game is a fight. Okay, well, we'll maybe talk a bit about Dutch water polo and the Dutch league. We've spoken about your career abroad, but not so much about in the Netherlands. The league isn't obviously as professional as some of the places you've gone to play, but that's not to say that it's not high quality or elite. But many of you, your colleagues and teammates, obviously have opted abroad and have done really really well. So maybe the model works because you're the world champions. So it's a bit of a contradiction. But in your opinion, what does the Dutch league need to do to improve and maybe keep some of the players like yourself playing in the country as like a viable option to continue your development?
No, they need to start paying, because the weird thing in the Netherlands is that for the men's competition they pay, like the guys get paid, but for the girls almost nothing. And I mean, we are world champion, and I don't understand why clubs wouldn't invest in women water polo. But that's something I've talked about before. But yeah, I think that's something that they should start doing if they want to keep players from the national team playing in the Netherlands. And it's also very weird because even though we have like these club teams where people who are training maybe 3 times a week, if you put some national team players with it, they still can reach like Final Four or whatever. Like they reach the quarterfinals and stuff. And if you compare that to leagues where people are training twice a day, I mean, we have such a quality here, but with the club, we are not reaching the potential.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it with Dazan this year in the Champions League. I mean, and obviously the Euro Cup, they were brilliant, but you can't compete against. You can't realistically compete against teams that are training 5 times as much as you, and you're world champions. So, it's a bit difficult because, I mean, some cynics might say, well, you're world champions, so what more can we do, But that's because so many of your team are going abroad. I mean, nearly all of the national team have been abroad at one point or the other. I want to talk about the women's game as well, and maybe a good place to start is with maybe some of the changes with Len. They've sort of the new change to the competitions. They've sort of brought it in line with the men's competitions. How does that make you feel, and how do your teammates feel if you've spoken to them about it?
I haven't really spoken a lot with my teammates, but well, we heard some rumors last season that they were gonna make this season the same as the men's. Of course, I think it's really good for women's water polo that they've expanded the competition and more teams are able to compete in those competitions. So for this, I think it's really nice. The only thing, like this season, it's gonna be crazy, of course. Like, well, you've heard this from many players. I think it's so crowded, so many games, so many important games, with the European Championship, World Championship, Olympics. Yeah, well, maybe for this season it's a little bit too much, but we have to do it. I mean, we cannot say like I'm not playing all the games.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, obviously last summer there was, it's quite a big thing that Rita Castelli took some time away, because it's just too much. But you obviously you want to make sure that you can play as many tournaments and competitions as possible because it's what you love. But have you kind of thought to yourself whether actually do I need to miss one? I mean, it's the worst thing in the world because you just want to play. You want to go to Fukuoka and you want to go to Japan and around the world, Long Beach, but eventually it's going to take its toll. Have you sort of had that conversation with yourself or with some of your teammates?
Well, I have been thinking about it, but I think gaining the Olympic ticket now this summer is really taking away a lot of the pressure to really be on top of my game in January and February, which also gives me in my head more space to focus on my club season. So I think for me it's a really nice part that we achieved to do that. But yeah, last season I didn't go to World League final in Spain because I was also studying, but also because Eva said like, well, you need to take some time now because after this point you can't anymore, and you're gonna be playing everything, and that's what you said. What I want. I mean, I want to play those big tournaments. It's the most amazing thing that we can do.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and hopefully players don't miss out. But as you said, I guess the pressure's off a little bit. You've already secured Olympic qualification, so not to say that you won't give your all anyway. But if you can maybe take it a bit easy and save yourself for the bigger competitions, that's good. Something that we spoke about maybe a year ago, we were talking about female referees and like this sort of idea, and I thought maybe I'd speak to you about that now, just before we go into part two. It seems like things very, very slowly are balancing out, but there's still some work to do, and it's the same thing with women coaches as well. You talked about Michele, is an amazing example of a female coach. Can you maybe explain your point of view, why it's important that you have female coaches and female referees in the sport and female delegates as well?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for everyone to see that like we are equal. We are training as much as the men's teams. We are putting as much energy in it as men's teams, and I dare say even more sometimes, because that's just maybe the way women are. I don't know, but and I think it's important to see that. Well, if you are a woman, you can also whistle like Final 8 Men Champions League. You can also reach like the highest possible for referees. And until now, I still haven't seen women on that tournament, if I'm correct. Also, I was checking the referees of this past World Championship, and even though there are a lot of women referees in the women's tournament, I don't see them back in the men's. And I mean, if you're good enough to whistle semis or quarterfinals or finals for the women's, why are they not good enough for the men's? I mean, I don't really get it. And I asked some referees, but also for them, it's like not transparent about the assignation. How do you say that? Like
Assignment,
how they assign the referees. And I mean, if we want to be like a professional sport, it has to be like transparent, and I think it can be a really good thing if this sports choose to promote women.
100%. And if I remember well, and this isn't a reflection of the referees, by the way, but I think the women's final, it wasn't two females, was it?
No, it was Perez and Ferrari, the Italian woman.
Yeah.
No.
So I mean, it obviously you want to award things on merit, but you do think maybe it's a missed opportunity. And the biggest game and one of the best games in the tournament, frankly, men and women. Both the finals were insane. You think maybe it was a bit of a missed opportunity not to include two female referees.
Well, I'm not saying that it should be like two female referees, because I don't think it should be like with the women's only women referees. I'm saying that it should be equal. Like it should be the same for the men's. Like if they whistle women's games, why are they not whistling the men's games? I don't understand this. I mean, in my eyes, it's like saying, oh, these referees are maybe not good enough for men's game, or women games are easier to whistle, which in my opinion is not true. Maybe maybe the game is not as fast as the men's game, but it's more difficult because we have a suit, and you can grab wherever you want. So it's harder to make good decisions. So it's not true that it is easier.
Yeah, that's 100% right, I think, and I guess what can we do about it, really? I mean, we're having the conversation, but what do you think can be done from Len? Obviously, they can make the assignment obviously fair, and the same for World Aquatics. But what else can we do? People that watch water polo, maybe.
Yeah, that's a difficult question, because it's something that's not really in our control. But I do think, like, if you are a girl and you want to be a referee, you should do it. Like, it's not that you have to do things, and you have to speak up about things, and that is something that everyone can do, also at their club or at their national competitions, because I think this is a thing you see in a lot of countries also. Like, yeah, it's a pity, but it's still like a man dominated sport. And if we want to have an equal, if we want to have more women involved, then we also have to make sure that we are heard and we speak up about it.
I totally agree, and Total Water Polo obviously support anything that anyone wants to do, and we hope that will improve. And it'd be great to see some female referees Final Four, and refereeing those games that they deserve to. Okay, well, we were going to take a short break, and then we'll come back for part 2 and some questions that people have sent in via social media.
Good.
Do you need a break or anything, or can we just continue going?
Just gonna drink some water.
Yeah, good idea. Stay hydrated. Good.
Okay.
Everything okay? Everything good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Do you hear my cat? I mean, sometimes he goes. Okay.
No, I can't hear. I saw like a tail move across the screen, but apart from that, that's perfect. That's fine, really. No, that's no worry. Okay, should we get on with part 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to part 2 of the Total Water Polo podcast. I'm joined by Sabrina Van der Sloot. In fact, just before we continue, I see on the match sheet sometimes it's written Katharina.
Yeah.
So, you prefer Sabrina, right? Or is it just something
Yeah. No, it's just like my dad. Like on my passport, I'm called Katerina Hendrika.
Yeah.
Because my dad, he forgot to say my first, like, Sabrina. He forgot to put it in the register.
Wait, what?
Well, my sister has the same. Like, he forgot to put my sister's real name because they wanted to give us like 3 names. And he didn't put it because, well, like earlier in the old days, people gave only like the names of the church and not the name like that everyone says. So he just forgot to put it for my sister. And then then I was born and they were like, okay, we also don't put her name.
Right. So your name was a mistake.
Not in my passport. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that solves that one. Just to hope that we weren't all calling you a name that you didn't like or something. But anyway, welcome back to part 2, and we've got some questions here that people have sent in on social media, and there were really quite a lot. So we've kind of, for those that aren't mentioned, we've kind of joined you together with maybe some similar questions. But the first question, Sabrina, that we ask all of our guests is for them to provide their total 7, their dream team of 7 players that they would have. You can pick it any way you like. It can be players that are currently playing. It can be retired players. It can be people you've played with, against. It can be anyone or people you've never met. But I'm pretty sure you would have met or played anyone. So a total 7, no pressure. Let's hear it.
Okay. Well, as a center, I would always choose Maika.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she's amazing. She's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just going to choose people who I've played with or who are from my time period, because I really don't know a lot of other great players that well. As a center back, I would choose Maggie.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she got so much energy. She's always going and she's really good. And as a goalie, I would choose Laura Aerts.
Mm-hmm.
And can I also choose the men's, because I would really like to include Dennis Varga.
Yes. Yeah. This is great. Yeah. Demi Varga. Nice.
I mean, I would love to have some shooting practice from him.
Wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
Some of us need it more than others, though. I don't think you really need it, to be honest.
No, but it would be nice to have some more tricks up my sleeve. I'm just thinking because I've seen so many players come and go.
You don't want to leave anyone out.
Yeah. Yeah, I would choose on position 5. I would choose Rita Castelli. I mean, she's so good.
Uh-huh.
I really don't like playing against her. And as a left-hander, then I would say Danielle de Bruin.
Yep.
Yeah. And then
So one more,
right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking. Yeah, and on position 2, maybe Tanya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was always afraid of her when I
What
started.
a team. You were afraid of her?
Yeah, when I started playing, I mean, she's like this really tiny woman, but in the water, she's like a bulldog. She will make you go crazy.
That's exactly right. And I can't believe she played this season in the finals as well.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what a great team. So in summary, it's centre back Maggie Steffens, centre forward Micah, left side you've got all Hungarian Kessie and Dumi Varga, Tania De Mario on the right with Danielle De Bruyne, and Laura Arts in goal. It's a good goal. It's a good team. Obviously, it kind of leads me on to my next question, which is the best player you've ever played with? Do you think, if you had to pick one of those? I don't know if you've ever played with Dennis Schrager, maybe, and I don't know, but like which one of those? Which one? We'll organise something. It has to happen sometime. But which of those players would you say is, like, if you had to pick one of them? I know it's tough.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard. It's so hard. I mean, they're so totally different players, and you can choose any one of them. Like, if you wanna, do you want to make goals? Do you want to defend? Do you want to be center? Do you want to?
Just maybe a player that you thought was just the most valuable and thought you wouldn't is irreplaceable. And I know maybe that they all are like that.
Yeah, well, I think in the end I would say Maika, because I mean, if you take her and Paula away from the Spanish team, it's gonna be really hard for them, I think. So I think if you compare them to the women's sport, like all the players that I know of, like from before, and also if I look to the juniors now, I don't see another center who is like so she's not like really putting all the work in doing her movements on center. She's just a natural, she doesn't need to make training 100 hours to learn something. Like, she sees it, she wants to do it, and she does it. And I think that's so much talent. Yeah.
Nice. Good that someone's finally stood up for centre forwards and given them the credit they deserve. It's about time. Okay. Good. We'll move on to our next question. Alex on Instagram asks, like, I'm going to water a little bit. She said, what would you say to, like a 13-year-old girl who wants to win everything? But I think I'll alter it and say, what advice would you give to your younger self when you were 13, knowing everything you know now, or to kids now who are 13, who want to be where you are now?
Yeah. Well, I would say, like, always keep working really hard. Don't lose confidence in yourself, even though people along the way will like tell you do things wrong. Just always try to learn from people who are saying you do stuff wrong or you should do different stuff. Just pick the positive things out of it and try to include them in your play. It can only make you better. Yeah, I would say that. And also I would say like, don't be too sad if you lose or don't reach your goals. Because if you work hard for it and you put everything inside that you have and you enjoy every moment and every day of it, then in the end, it's all worth it, even though if you don't win.
Great advice. Great advice. The next question on Instagram, also from Hanny, is what is the best advice you can give to control nerves? Are you nervous? Are you a nervous person in general?
No, not really. No.
No, you don't get nervous. What's the most nervous you've ever been? Have you ever been really nervous in a game?
I think I was, well, when we played the European Championships final, I was a bit nervous, but I don't know, when I jump into the water, like when I start my warm up and when I go do the sprint off, it all disappears, I just really enjoy playing and I don't think about the consequences of it. I think this is the biggest advice that I can give. Just don't think about the consequences of scoring or making a mistake. Just try to be in the moment and action by action play the game and enjoy the game.
Nice. It's easier said than done, though, for lots of people. But yeah, it's that's why you're able to do what you do, because you don't get nervous really. But okay, the next question also on Instagram, Maya, and I really like this question actually, and I don't think I've ever asked this question to anyone before, a water polo player. But what advice would you give to overcome a bad coach? Now, everyone has amazing coaches. Sometimes there's bad coaches as well. I don't need to know who they are, but have you got any experience and things you've done or things you've heard from your teammates about the best way to overcome a bad coach?
Well, I think, if it's possible, go to another club. I think that's something that a lot of the people in the Netherlands do if they're not like satisfied with their coach. But then again, maybe search out like teammates who are better than you and try to learn from them, or go to the water polo clinics that are provided a lot now I don't know where she's from, but I think in every country you can go like to a water polo clinic. And if you are English, maybe you can look into going to a university in the US or something. And I think if you want to beat a bad coach, you are the one who should move yourself, like go somewhere else to learn what you want to learn.
Okay, nice. This next question is really interesting because it links back to something you said earlier, but it said when you are real friends and good friends with opponents, how do you still play a competitive game against these people? It's really interesting because obviously you've just beaten Spain in the final, and 6 or 7 of those players are people that you're going to, that you spent the whole year with in Sabadell. So how do you compartmentalize that? Do you feel bad for them or anything like this?
Yeah, I felt bad for them that they lost. Yeah, of course. I mean, I know what it means to them. Like they put the same amount of energy into this type of tournaments as we do, and they want to win as bad as we do. But I also think that being friends gives you like a good perspective on the sport. Like it's not like this player, maybe in the water she's really annoying, but outside of the water she's an amazing person. And I think it really helps me to separate the person from the athlete, and that also helps me to separate myself from my performance as an athlete. Like I'm not only an athlete, I'm also a person. When I play the game, I'm playing against athletes and not against the person. So I think that helps me to be able to play against them.
I mean, it must be hard though, because you know what they've put in as well, and they are your friends ultimately, and that the hurt that maybe they're feeling after losing. losing a big tournament. I remember Maggie Steffens said the same thing, because there was a time where US never lost to Spain, right? They kept beating them in the final, and obviously she was in Sabadell. But yeah, that's really interesting. Nick on Instagram asks, would you ever join a Greek team? He also says congratulations on the World Championships. Would you ever join a Greek team? Have you ever been close to going to Greece? I mean, it would tick off another country on the list, wouldn't it?
Well, the reason I haven't joined the Greek team was because for a long time they only had 2 good teams. And for me, I also want to play like important games in the competition. Well, maybe now it would change if you also have Champions League during the whole season, but of course we didn't have it. I was close to playing for a Greek team, but I don't know. In the end, I think just Greek country is not really something in my mind that looks like really inviting to go to. So I always choose to go somewhere else, even though like the clubs who've asked me are great and big. And for sure, if I went there, I would have had a great time. But yeah, my feelings just went with another club.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. We've got another question here, and it's something completely different, really. It's from a guy called Jeffrey, and he asks, "How is your study to become a teacher?" So let's hear about this. This is something outside of water polo that you're focusing on.
Yeah, well, actually, when I didn't went to World Cup, World League final in Tenerife last season, I was doing my internship to become a history teacher. And I really liked it. Yeah, I really liked working with the young people and a group of people and teach them something. So, well, that's something that when I quit water polo, I would want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, normally we end all our conversations talking about what people get up to in their free time. But you think maybe once your career's finished, no water polo coaching, straight into being a history teacher somewhere?
Yeah, well, I've done some coaching of juniors in 2016 when we didn't go to the Olympics. And I really liked it. And I think it's really similar to being a teacher. So I'm not saying I never want to do it, but I first want to experience like normal life, like being able to go on vacation when I want, do what I want, whenever I want it. And maybe after a couple of years, I would want to do something with water polo, the Dutch water polo.
Okay, nice. And just lastly, as I said, we normally ask what people get up to when you're not playing water polo or teaching or practicing to teach. What do you spend your time doing? What maybe something about you that we don't know? Any hobbies or anything like that?
Well, I really like reading. And when I'm in Spain, I will always go with Laura Esther to have a cerveza, some beers.
Uh-huh.
So just like hang out with friends and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I hope you two can obviously have a drink soon, and you can celebrate both going to Paris Olympics and Great World Championships. And once again, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations. And thank you very much for your time, Sabrina.
Thank you. It was really nice talking to you and answering those questions.